One of the more significant realizations that I've come to growing up is that I don't know anything. I basically know nothing about the world, and pretty much all the time I'm just guessing based on what I think that I know, which is very little. This is super different to growing up, because when you're a little kid, the world exists to please you, and it exists because of you. It's like you're in a movie that's starring you, about you, and everyone else around you is supporting cast, but that's not realistic. Some people don't outgrow this phase, and normally they run for political office, but that's comedy, making the jokes. But yeah, I don't know anything, is what I'm trying to say. And I have spent a lot of time in my life thinking that I know a lot of things, when in fact I don't know really much of anything. Most of the first 18 years of my life were lived through this almost naive arrogance of thinking that because of a certain way that I lived my life and because of certain things that happened to me, I therefore knew better than most people, and that I was better than most people. And that's not really a healthy way to live life, because everyone has stuff that happens to them. Everybody lives things, and you can learn something new from literally every single person out there. And to think that you know better and that you are better because of your life experience is really short-sighted and not realistic. I'm saying this because I still have a tendency to do this, and I've done it in my life recently, and I'm gonna probably do it again at some point, where sometimes I get caught up in my own story to the point that I forget everyone else's story, right? Like, I myself am the buildup of an infinity of experiences of time that have led to me. And that's pretty cool to think about. That makes me feel pretty special, but literally every other person is also that. So it's important to remember that as well. And just because you think you know something doesn't mean you actually know it. I think always being open to new stuff, to new information, to new experiences, and to overhaul how I look at the world is something I really want to pride myself on. In the past year specifically, I've gone about a really extensive evolution in how I view human relationships and how I view the way that people treat me. Because in the past, I looked at relationships as a project that you put work into. And, you know, I grew up in America, so the idea of the American dream, you put work into a thing and eventually the thing is great. And for the most part, you know, simplicity-wise, that is true. If you work hard at things, you know, they can't ever be successful if you don't work at them. But with relationships, I forgot to think about the fact that not only is it about me putting work into a thing, it's about someone else putting in the same amount of work, and for that to be a compatible amount of work. And it's easy to forget that. You know, we look at movies and TV shows and all these different things where it's very formulaic and very predictable, and how you get the girl in the end and all these different things, and it's not how it works, man. It's a mutual thing. It's a mutual thing, and you forget that sometimes. So in my head, I knew how relationships work, and I knew that if I worked hard and I loved somebody very, very profusely, that they would love me back. And that's not a healthy way to live, because you're gonna feel empty and used up. That's probably the most profound instance of me knowing a thing that actually wasn't actually a thing, and me learning that it wasn't actually a thing that I've ever been through. But there have been others, and there's gonna be more, because that's really what life is. Because again, I don't really know anything, and I'm just guessing most of the time. And that's okay. When you admit that you don't know everything, and that you have limited knowledge or limited experiences in certain areas, it kind of frees you to then learn about those things, because you're like, oh, I'm not an expert at this, I'm an amateur. And when you're an amateur, you can do whatever you want and figure it out. So yeah, I wanted to make a video about that. A one-take video about that. I don't know anything, and so can you. Basically. If you guys have any more thoughts, you can leave them in the comments. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. And I will see you on Monday. Walking in a neighborhood, don't know where I am. Probably gonna take a little while to get myself back to where I need to go, but I don't know where I am right now. And the sun.